Hey everyone. So, I wanted to talk about something a little bit different today. Because you only ever really see mages either in dedicated mage build guides or in a gank. I wanted to just talk about why mages aren't for brainless fools and they actually require some skill. First off, leveling. Apparently, a lot of people don't level a mage correctly because there's this whole stereotype that mages are squishy. I used to believe it. Then I actually got good with magic. So this is my pyromancer. Um, as you can see, very balanced build. I'm not the best at builds, so my pyromancer is not going to be anything amazing. But basically, leveling is the main reason mages aren't the easiest build to do. So, people think, oh, doing a lot of damage from a distance, you won't ever get hit, easy. They're wrong. Once you actually try to make a mage, you'll understand it's way more difficult than you may think. If you want a challenge to a mage, they can be as tanky as any other build, but it's expensive. So too many people build them with one thing in mind: offense. And that's kind of ridiculous. So mages require both vigor, every build requires vigor, and skill. If you want to make the most of a mage, you can't just do a bunch of high damage, long range moves. You need moves that complement each other. So, like, I have Fire Orb to do high damage from a distance, but I'm not using it for the high physical, not physical, sorry, the high health damage. The Fire Orb is actually for shield punishment, and so is Great Combustion. I can only handle those two moves right now. Pyromancers are all about damage, and people think that makes them the most brainless of all. They couldn't be more wrong. Now, another thing you want to keep in mind is pure caster is idiotic. I'm not saying don't go pure pyro or pure sorcerer, whatever, but do not go pure caster. If you go pure caster, you run out of Ashen Estus, you run out of focus, guess what? You're gonna have to resort to bashing people with your catalyst. Doesn't sound very effective, does it? Um, Another thing people think for some reason mages do not need is endurance. I do not understand that. Every build needs endurance. But yeah, basically, people think mages are designed for ganking. And that's just why. How did that start? I get that they're a popular gank and all, but um, it's like, so when people say that, it kind of ticks me off because I'm a mage user. people think it's just a way players piss off other players, when actually it's a really fun way to play, and the most viable method of inflicting fire damage if you're a pyromaniac. Like I am. I'm not like a real life pyromaniac, but in video games I am. And of course that doesn't really apply to needing skill to use a mage, but mages have to have synergy. They're not just all attack like everybody thinks they are. I just wanted to stomp that out. Mages are more than just a gank. Okay? If you come up against an actually good mage, they could likely wreck you. Okay, I'm not even lying here. If you ask me, strength is a far more brainless build than a mage. Mages require proper attunement, like you have to choose your spells properly. You can't use just high damage spells all the time. And on top of all that, you have to choose the right weapon. I went with the Lucerne because, well, really what this build is about staggering and breaking enemy guards, and the Lucerne is an ideal weapon for that. That's sort of what I built this build around. Now, my favorite weapon for that type of a build is the Lucerne, but some other honorable options are the Great Axe. It hits super hard. It can usually guard break in 1 or 2 hits, and it can just, it staggers so hard. I mean, if you're going for pure stagger, you're going to want 32 strength. I know that's kind of steep for a mage, but that's what you need for the Great Axe. I just like the Lucerne because it can sneak around shields. Another good option is the Corvian Great Knife. It can use its impact weapon art to get around the shield. When your opponent puts their shield down because they know it's pointless, you can just go nuts on them with the super fast strikes. Definitely an aggressive style. And finally, I would say the final good one would be, I'd say a hammer. Most hammers inflict strike damage, which is not just the single best type of physical damage in the game, but it staggers pretty well, and a hammer specifically won't bounce off a shield so easily, so you can keep going nuts on a shield until you break it. Also, you can keep attacking even against a boss until you stagger them, and some bosses can actually be repulsed once you do that. So, pretty nice one. But if you're going for a sorcerer, Hazel pick, hands down. Just, it's, in my opinion, other than the Moonlight Greatsword, it's one of the best sorcerer weapons you're gonna get. It's both a catalyst and a weapon. Maybe the only better one is the Immolation Tinder. Those 3 weapons are maybe the best for a sorcerer. That's really what I have to say. I'd say for a sorcerer and maybe a pyromancer, I don't actually know for sure, the Immolation Tinder is gonna be the go-to. Because it's a halberd that can cast freaking spells and is a bloody, flaming weapon. I mean, what is not to love?